Hello and welcome to this video where we will talk about the fourth and final exercise of the first assignment in our course Competition, Policy and Strategy. In this exercise 1.4 we will talk about profit definitions and basically go over the difference between economic profits and accounting profits. So we are exactly asked to define these two terms, or rather the difference between accounting profits and economic profits. And the difference, well, they are manifold difference, but let's try to narrow it down to a few key differences. Let's start by looking at what are economic profits. Economic profits are understood to be excess return on equity above an adequate return on equity, which of course is quite a mouthful and demands for further definitions along the way. But let's, for now, just keep that as it is. So what we will understand under economic profits is revenues reduced by all costs components. That means, for example, implicitly we will assume that depreciation, amortization and interest, as well as risk adequate return on investment, so what we call opportunity costs, are considered within the cost function that we assumed. Right? So we just consider all of these parts of costs to be included, like all of these cost components to be included in the cost function. And whatever is left after considering all of these cost components, well, that is what we understand under economic profits. Now, in contrast to this, accounting profits usually is understood as net income, right? So we start with the revenue of a firm and then reduce this by all the cost components that are defined by the GAAP, so the generally accepted accounting principles. What this, you will quickly notice that this so far is quite simple to what we were just talking about, and that is maybe not so easy to see the difference, because we are now talking about all cost components, and over here we have like all cost components as defined by these standards. Well, the key difference between economic profits and accounting profits is the consideration, or rather the not consideration, of opportunity costs of equity. Now, this of course is, this first is the crucial difference, and it is of course not so simple, not so simple to actually find opportunity costs and to measure them. More on that right now. So in consequence, accounting profits should be larger than economic profits, simply because, again, both consider all cost components of the firm, with the addition that economic profits also consider the opportunity costs, while accounting profits don't consider these costs. Now, if one considers one more component than the other, then that of course implies that the accounting profits are usually larger than economic profits. So this is quite helpful, because when we were talking in previous videos on perfect competition, when we were talking about zero profits, that of course does not mean that the firm actually is making zero money, right? Instead, zero profits condition allows for a risk adequate compensation for equity, returns to equity. So even though there are economically zero profits, there might very well be accounting profits. The key difference being that the economic profits already consider that there must be a risk-adequate return on investment. Now, there are some measurement and challenges, as I already hinted earlier. The first thing is that it is that the first difference is that simple depreciation methods, or the first challenge rather, is that simple depreciation methods do not reflect economic value deterioration. Usually in accounting, depreciation is measured either linearly or exponentially. Both are, of course, idealized functions to resemble the value that is lost. But of course, in the reality, neither of these functions will be exactly adequate and exactly cover the actual value deterioration of any kind of investment. And then the more problematic issue, the more complex issue is, however, that we simply cannot make an easy answer on the question, what is risk adequate return on equity? Who defines what risk adequate is? Who makes sure that we are measuring risk accordingly, or appropriately rather, right? So this is really where the crux is. In measuring opportunity costs, we also have to measure what is the risk adequate return on equity.